And the guy was saying, I swear somebody just came up and just socked me in the back and ran off. he thought they could see the potato remnants.
Oh my God.
They had to just, it's kind of like Reno 911. They're trying to keep a straight face.
So tell me what happened,
Do you have a description of the guy?
That's awesome.
He's like, that's going to stay with us to the grave.
That's awesome.
Something about firemen and potato guns, because I had a different friend that was a firefighter. They knew each other. They all do. But, yeah, same thing. You did potato guns. Plumbers, we all do potato guns.
I would think plumbers would build the best potato guns.
Pretty good. Because we experimented with so many different diameters of pipe, length of barrel,
Right.
different types of fuel. Aquanet was actually surprisingly good.
Right. No, that's what I always use.
Yeah.
Talking that hairspray.
Oh, you're kidding.
No.
Or starting fluid.
Yeah.
Just boom.
Yeah. It's dangerous. But
And the problem is you get people that get too crafty and they start building like 6-inch chambers, and it's like that could blow up on you. You know, you get enough
exactly.
expansion in that thing, you're looking at problems.
Yeah, and the pipes aren't necessarily meant for that amount of pressure, such a short burst.
Right.
So,
plus heat.
Not to mention, if PVC were to shatter as a pipe bomb, that would be gnarly.
yeah, plastic. Yeah, that'd be awful.
For igniters, we would always use just like an igniter for a gas grill.
It was the starter for the old Coleman lanterns. You could buy the replacements, and we would use those.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Should do that sometime.
All right. Maybe,
Maybe for the cats.
That's how the leadership of the church doesn't have any arms.
We're missing a few fingers.
Exactly.
The good news is the church has a lot more designated handicap spots. And the Tesla drives itself, so
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
the rest of us are walking.
Jump in with Jim. He's gonna have a trailer. Pulling all of us.
Trying to get the door handles.
So, Bandstock.
Bandstock.
Bandstock. What does that mean for you? I mean, what does a man hunger for? What makes us men, really? I think that's kind of the other question that we have to discuss. But, so what makes you man? What lights you up?
I mean, being around a campfire on a beautiful day, the dogs are barking, birds are chirping, cock is doing his thing. You know, and just being able to sit down and not have to hold all the stress from the week. You know, I mean, there's something about that release that you get when you're just with a group of guys that understand a lot about what it is to be a guy. Right. So that's a big part of it, is that brotherhood, and that's, I think, the key, the essential part of the Bandstock is the band of brothers and bloodstained ally aspect. So it's good to know that you got guys that have your back. Those guys are going to be there for you. Right? They're the ones you call when you need something. You just want to talk.
And I think the cultural assault today on what the definition is of a man or a woman, but of course for this discussion, we assaulted what is a man,
right?
You know, and I think there's lots of expressions, true, honest expressions of manhood, manliness, that vary from guys who just crawl off a mountain to guys who are engineers and architects and are more comfortable in an office setting, but you know, I think that's where the heart of a man. You know, I quote from that book, John Eldridge's Wilding Heart. You know, as he says something that just lit my heart on fire when I read it about 5 years ago. And he said, you know, did you ever notice in the book of Genesis, in the story of Adam, where Adam was created? It said God formed Adam from the dirt of the earth and made him, and then God breathed life into Adam through the breath of God's Spirit into Adam, and he became a living being, a creature, a sentient, self-aware creature. And then God took him from the wild and placed him in the garden. And in our hearts, men are designed and created in the wild. That's where we're most natural, at least my experience is with that. And then God desires to bring us into the place of cultivation, But we always want to return to the wild. We want to return to the place where our hearts were created, and I think that's powerful. I think that sets us free.
So, Jake was talking about our band and how it is that sense of community for so many guys that go to it, and how the goal is to grow that
Right.
and have bands throughout the area that meet, and that way the kind of the sense of belonging and brotherhood that we have, others can participate. And so the idea of the Bandstock is, he wanted to spread the word. How do we get what we have and make it contagious? How do we spread our dynamic and let other people participate in it? And so the idea was we want to get the word out there, and being out in the wilderness, being outside and connecting with men to create bands throughout Colorado Springs or Teller County or anywhere that can get together and have that network of manly support. That's the goal of Bandstock. And so it's a one-night camping trip where we can create those associations and find our own band of guys to meet and hopefully get together again next year and talk about those connections and grow it and grow it and grow it, so that way we're not alone. We're not that missing dynamic of underrepresented individuals of men that don't have anybody to connect with.
Right, because we weren't meant to do this journey alone. There's seasons when we do. There's seasons where perhaps you're the only one that can make the change in that situation. You have to just man up, as we say, and make it happen. But there's a part of that journey that we need men to band together, and the acronym BAND. You came up with a fantastic meaning for that, right? That was
Well, staying allies, needing direction.
yeah. That's fine.
And the big part about that is the understanding that we all need it. It's not that we're trying to pretend like we're on a platform and we have so much to teach other guys.
Right.
It's that we mutually need guidance, and we use the Word of God to get that. And not everybody that comes to this even understands the Bible to be the living, breathing Word of God. But those are people that we want to talk to as well. Those are people that we want to explain what it's done in our lives and how it's affected our families and our work life, and at least give them a chance to see what it can do besides just the false reality that they get from people at work or whatever, the people that talk down on Christians, because there's bad apples, of course, but a lot of people are judging the entire Bible and people that believe in the Bible under those bad few apples that they've met. So
Right, and you have a fantastic title for that. How is it you phrase it? That we
get religious. We talk about religion without getting religious.
Right.
We talk about politics even without getting political, and we're careful with definitions, because that's usually how miscommunications occur. Is if somebody has a certain definition for a word or a phrase or something, and someone else has a different one, and you're talking about the same thing, but it could be taken the wrong way. So we're very careful about definitions and making sure that we're clear with our intentions of our conversation, and at the same time we're respectful and we don't take things personally. So that's the groundwork for a great conversation that builds you up rather than tears each other down.
yeah.
Another thing about the term band is that it was intentional also to make it like a music band, because in a musical band each musician comes in and they not only bring in their style, but they also bring in all their influences too. So you get more than just 1 + 1, it's synergistic. So you get so much more by adding another person into a conversation or into the group of guys. So we love people's past, and their influences they've had and their journeys that they've been through, and they have lessons to teach each one of us. So it just brings more into the flavor of the music and conversation.
Right. Yeah, that's powerful. There's something about guys sitting around a campfire, a cup of coffee or an adult beverage in the evening, just pouring their hearts out, just talking.
Absolutely. So that's the goal. So
Yeah.
we've got Lake Wellington for one night, May 1st. It's at the scout camp. So the goal is to have a bunch of campfires where guys can have those conversations, cook up a little dinner, have a beer, have a drink, enjoy a cigar or a pipe, and make those connections all night long. But then it's going to get really cold, and people are, going to climb into their sleeping bags and stay warm because there could be snow on the ground.
Right.
and then follow it the next morning with coffee around the campfire, a little devotional, maybe a baptism if you're brave enough to get into the lake, and then we go back to our own separate ways, but with those connections or those associations that we made at this event, and that's what it's about. It's gonna be cool. The other thing that I really wanted to mention that you talked about is I think it's going to grow because you guys have, since you've said it, I see it and I believe it, but men want to be around other people that are accountable and honest about the responsibilities and things going on in their life, that are willing to bring up, the issues without sugarcoating it or lying or hiding, a place to just be honest about what's going on in a man's life. Right. And accountable to that honesty.
Yeah. And it's not a place for posing. It's not a place where we come and talk about how much money we made or what this we have or that we have or any of those things.
Right.
It's a place to just bear the truth of life together. I think that's what's transformative. Because I've been to other events where guys just come together, they polish their armor, and they just want to show you the polished parts.
Right.
And I think there's more to the campfire experience, the band experience that is vital to transforming our hearts and causing us to grow and be a better version of ourselves today than we were yesterday or last week. That's transformative.
I believe I am because of our band.
Yeah.
I believe it's holding me accountable. If that could be contagious for other people, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, and it's that's where the power comes from, because it's not planned by anybody.
Jake and I were joking about this thing catching on really hard and it being a bandemic.
Pandemic. That's going on the website. That's gonna catch like wild branch fire.
Yeah.
It's a pandemic spreading across the country.
That's right. We thought we could do it once a year. Twice a year isn't even enough.
Coming to a neighborhood near
That would
you.
be awesome. It would be great. The potential of it, because there's so many festivals that we were talking about that just grow and grow and grow because it resonates with people.
Right.
This is just so, like you're saying, natural. It's like salt of the earth. It's where we came from.
Right.
I just feel like it's going to resonate really well with people.
Yeah.
Can you explain we don't need to go over all the suggestions, but at least why we call them suggestions?
Yeah, well, we talked about how, what's the social contract on how people are going to behave and how they're going to conduct themselves? How do we politely put out there the type of mindset that we're looking for without demanding that people be a certain way? Because who are we to demand anything we can't command anything of our fellow man.
Right.
So what we came up with was our 10 suggestions, and it's basically a social contract for the event. It's that being accountable to yourself. It's respecting all women because it's a men's retreat, a man's retreat, but we're not there to bash on anybody. We're there to honor and respect the women in our lives. So if you talk about your relationship, you're talking about your accountable role in that relationship, and that's it. It's respecting where other people are at. We might have people that have just returned from a deployment at the event, and their level of participation is not as active as yours. That doesn't mean that you call people out. Respect people for where they're at. At the same time, you can call people out if you do it in a tactful way. If you're trying to help somebody see a different perspective or grow as an individual, then there's a tactful way to approach that by showing respect to your fellow man. So the suggestions are things mostly about respect, about conducting yourself as an adult. So there's going to be beverages. This thing is going to be sponsored by local breweries, distilleries, and pubs. So people are going to have a cold drink in their hand. It's being able to be the mature man and enjoy that drink, but not take it so far that it detracts from the experience.
Right, exactly.
So the suggestions are just kind of a 10 recommendations on how we should conduct ourselves at the band, camping event or the band fest, stock.
Yeah, Bandstock.
Bandstock.
It's like Woodstock.
I know, but I keep thinking fest. I don't know why. It's driving me crazy. But
we should get that domain too.
Band fest.
Yeah, it's just it's a series of not rules but suggested guidelines on how we should conduct ourselves so that everybody can have a safe and fun event.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's and to be, look at the videos of Lake Wellington. We haven't gone up there. I haven't been there yet. I think you've been there.
I have not.
Oh, you
My
haven't?
lady has gone camping
Oh,
there. She
oh.
told me about it. So what's neat about it is all the lakes in Colorado that are owned by the state or whatever, all the water is owned by different metropolitan areas. So like Denver Water owns 11 Mile and all the different. So there's no skin contact. You're not allowed to. Rampart Reservoir is owned by the city of Colorado Springs. So Lake Wellington being a private lake, we can do the baptism. You can, not only can you fish, but you can jump in the water if you want and swim because that water is owned by them.
Wow, that's rare.
Yeah, so to do a cold baptism, potentially breaking a little ice on the lake and getting in there, it's cool because you don't have to worry about a ranger coming up and writing you a ticket for being in the water.
Right. Yeah, a polar bear baptism.
Yeah,
where we just,
out in the wilderness.
Right, and the meaning of baptism, just the born again experience, just recommitting our lives to the truth and the power that sets us free.
The shock from
Yeah,
the cold water.
The shock from the cold water. And the idea in the Hebraic perspective is when you hold your breath, it's as though you're dead. And so when you go under the water, holding your breath, and you come back up and take that first breath, it's like when God himself breathed life into Adam and gave him. And the breath in Hebrew is the same word as spirit. It's ruach. Ruach HaKodesh, the spirit or breath of the Holy One. And in the wilderness, where to me that's God's tabernacle. That's the place God built for us to worship him. Church buildings are great, but a man did that.
Right.
Somebody picked the colors, somebody had their little, artistic flair, which is sometimes very pleasant, sometimes ugly, but who can do it better than God himself, the Father, just painting a portrait of beauty.
And from the pictures I've seen of Lake Wellington, it's a portrait.
Oh, it's astounding. Yeah, I was really pleased, really excited about it.
And we're getting great support from them.
We're getting great support from the community.
Yeah.
We're getting, we're telling local business and bar owners and distilleries and breweries, like, hey, this is what we're doing. This is what we're a part of. And a lot of them know us from our band going into different places. And so they're on board with it because they want people coming to their watering holes and their local businesses and getting together weekly or a couple times a week.
Right.
They're all about it. They support it. So we're getting a lot of support from the community as well.
Yeah, that's really exciting. And what we do for our meeting that we have weekly is we meet at a local brewery.
Yeah.
And at first it's just kind of fun, and we have a beer, we have a meal perhaps. Some people don't drink adult beverages, so they'll have something else, which is fine. And then we go and we have the meat over time. Really just a private place where we sit down and really open up our hearts and just talk about life, victories and failures. How do we get through those things? So that brings it full circle. And I think that the main message is that men need a place they can be real, they can be honest, and they can bare their souls, and a band of brothers where we can stand together. And through the trials, the difficulties, because life's going to throw them at you whether you want to or not.
And we know that we can only grow our local band so big. So what we want to do is plant bands throughout the state, throughout the country, throughout the world, maybe. But I mean, because we don't want to keep this just to ourselves, because we're all growing from this. We're all getting better as men because of what we do every week when we get together and hang out.
And we've had men from all age groups. We had guys as young as 18, 19 come.
Yep.
Guys as old as, I don't know how old Rabbi Malone is, but he's got to be in his 70s.
Yeah.
And
that being said, though, for this particular event, where we've got no structures as far as I know. It's going to be tents and sleeping bags. So the people that are coming to this event are going to have to really be prepared for a potentially cold night.
Because it could snow. It could be a foot of snow.
Right. It could be nice out. It could be a beautiful night like last night.
Day, yeah.
But you got to be prepared because the potential is there for an extremely cold night.
Yeah, it's a high altitude in Colorado. Plus the altitude. If someone is maybe out of shape, heart problems, breathing problems, it can be prepared for, take care of yourself.
But if somebody's new to the area, maybe newly assigned or stationed to one of the military bases, and they're looking for that connection to the community, those are the people as well that we'd like to, show them who their neighbors are, so that way they have those associations.
Right.
silly question. I don't know about the sound or whatnot. Should we potentially do some like microphone work inside and have a little conversation that we could dub in?
Yeah. Would be, yeah.
Just because we've got the dogs and traffic and lane.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
right, yeah,
There's been a
yeah.
lot of extra.
Usually the microphone works pretty good, but that's a longer distance apart.
Right. And you're not using that cattail.
Yeah, my new phone doesn't have a mic. Port, so. And then I'm just trying to think what else.
We could even just mostly take video from this conversation, like you said, over our conversations that we have in a quieter place.
Right.
Because I think the video from this is going to be awesome. Fire.
I really want to use the unplugging of Neo in the Matrix. You know,
Yes.
I was just thinking, I want to unplug, man. I want to go to the wilderness with guys and just unplug for a day.
Right.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
So and the other thing I think would be cool is at the very end after the commercial, maybe just leave the QR code up for like 10, 15 seconds. So if somebody's out there and they've got their phone, they can at least pull up the website right away if it's on a commercial at a church or something.
Yeah,
Right.
that'd be good. That'd be awesome.
Bandstock.com?
Yeah, well, you had me change it to the Bandstock.
Thebandstock.com.
Yeah, Bandstock was already taken when I registered it.
Okay.
And I got different versions. I got the band dash, and I got every combination I could.
Right on.
But that's what's on the that's the link on the QR code
Right.
is to the Bandstock.
Bandstock.
And she changed it for me too. Thankfully, it was on a file that she can just, because I just sent it to her while I was there at the shop, and then she just had it done. It took her 2 seconds. I was like, sweet.
Very cool.
And I got somebody else working on band hats, because the guy right here at Teas in Time, he's been fumbling with this thing for probably since like October. Hello. Hey, buddy.
5 weeks. It's going to come quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got to get out there and get the commercial done, and then I'm going to be hitting it pretty hard talking to people as far as sponsorships. I feel like Jake and I have marinated a couple businesses. We just need to go pitch it now.
Okay. And I texted Jake the nonprofit number, but I can give you a text for that as well. So if they want to know what the nonprofit.
Yes, that'd be dynamite. Because I know that we need to get up to 300 Days of Shine and a few other, Monument's got a few things going for it. It wouldn't hurt to maybe make a trip up to Woodland Park and hit a couple places.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And then anybody who donates either product or gear or whatever they want to donate, I can give them a tax deductible receipt for all of that. So,
Okay. The other one Jake was talking about, I thought was pretty cool, is maybe like Calicrate Beef. Seeing about using them and getting their support for maybe a breakfast or a dinner meat.
Okay.
Whether we do raw to we wrote up a menu of an idea of menus. We were talking about the notion of breakfast burritos and breakfast tacos in the morning because you can build so many different components. So all the people that are kind of staff, if you will, could work a different protein. So you could have like little smokies, you could have bacon, you could have sausage, and then somebody else is scrambling eggs. But the thing is, it all comes together, and a lot of the toppings and accoutrements that would go to that would also go to dinner if we did like a different proteins like pulled pork, brisket, beef, and did a big baked potato bar that had the sour cream, the cheese, all the toppings that you would also use for the breakfast burritos the next morning.
Right.
And it's everybody can individualize it, so if they have a dietary restriction, nobody's forcing one thing down the
Right. It's sort of almost a buffet style at a certain point. Right. You just have what you want.
But if Calicrate wants to do that, they don't have to donate a ton because we bringing a lot of eggs into it, tortillas, things like that, where people can make themselves and then having he also mentioned La Casita tortillas.
Oh yeah.
And so having some fresh locally made tortillas for his breakfast burritos and tacos in the morning.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. And then it can all be pre-made pretty easily as far as that goes.
Right, we can have everything set up except for the proteins that we have to, the eggs and the meats.
Right.
Everything else can be pretty much, just ready to go, and you can feed a large volume of people with something like that. The baked potatoes, you know, it's a lot of baked potatoes, but we've only got ovens. We'll just wrap them all up and stick them in there and let them slow cook, and then throw them into a container or ice chest or whatever, and take them up and then finish them off on the fire. Let them finish up for the last hour or whatever, and have fresh fire roasted baked potatoes already. But for the cost, it's really not that bad. A bunch of potatoes,
Right.
it's potatoes.
Right. Yeah.
That was when it was only like